So now you have two buttons, which one is the auto button and the other one is the manual button. And the auto button just refills your internal fuel tanks, while if you click on the manual button, it will open a list of all the available fuel tanks and fuel pods. So fuel pods are the ones at the outside of the Starfarer, the fuel tanks basically you use for the refueling. So you fill them dedicated with whatever you want to pick. So you can fill all 6 of them with hydrogen fuel if you like, but you can also fill 3 with hydrogen fuel and 3 with quantum fuel. And the next step that you need to do is lift off. And then basically you are up for the market. And there, sadly, we don't have the beacon system yet. So you are reliant on chat communication, or if you are in an organization, you either have Discord or TeamSpeak to talk to them to ask for refueling or offer you refueling services. And once you found someone that is in need, you basically extend your boom arm, then a docking procedure takes place. You need to set a price for the fuel. You can even give it out for free if you feel like it. And then the docked ship goes through the very same process like you did on the station. So the ship in need opens again. The Mobiglass goes into the vehicle maintenance service, purchases the amount of fuel that the player needs, and you as the Starfarer owner then get the request. And what you do next is open the corresponding fuel tank to allow the flow for, let's say, hydrogen to go through the nozzle. And then you open the nozzle and you can control the flow speed there. So you have an impact on the time it takes to fill the other ship. And once the other ship is filled, you're done and both can part their way.
How did he do, Euro and Jacob? Did he get it all? I saw you guys just like nodding as he was going, like checking his work. Did you do all that from memory, or do you have cheat sheet on your monitor?
I did it from memory. I played it a lot, and so Yaro and Jacob did also play it a lot. We played it like the recent internal playtest sessions all the time.
How has it changed over this quarter? I mean, like I said, we showed it very early. We showed it in January, which is earlier than we usually have any of this stuff because it was originally targeting for 316, so we had it a little bit earlier. But so with this extra time, how has refueling changed or evolved over this quarter?
From the system itself, not too much. So we did only some minor tweaks. So we have now a variable flow speed in that we didn't have back then. So now it's a bit, you really have to pay attention to the flow speed to not damage your nozzle, because there is this mechanic of the safe flow speed to the nozzle, where if you are above it, you will start damaging it. And we wanted to emphasize this. So we added a mechanic that basically the more pods you have open.
Bueno, buenas tardes, chavales, así rápido. Nos está comentando un poquito del tema del refuel, de cómo va a ser, de cómo va a funcionar todo el tema. Nos dice que va a haber una solución que sea de botón automático, otra que sea de hacerlo manual, otra que es... nos está comentando ahora el tema de que pues a la hora del refuel que tendremos que tener cuidado con lo que es la presión que aplicamos para tener cuidado con la boquilla, porque la boquilla parece que se daña, que es un añadido que han puesto y que quieren hacer énfasis en eso.
It opens possibilities, let's phrase it that way.
Possibilities for...
Like if someone accidentally jumps on your catwalk and then closes the fuel pod steps. Sabotage. Yes.
No, I'm glad you mentioned the UI. In some respects, I'm a corporate shill, so I don't know if I get to have personal opinions about things. But the UI for refueling and the UI for the new selling mechanic, both coming on 317, are some of the better, more informative and intuitive UIs that I think we've put out in time. I don't think it's any secret that, UI is one of the toughest parts of any game, and Star Citizen, because we're running a live environment in the middle of our development with gameplay systems that are not finished or complete, UI has always been a struggle, and it will continue to be a struggle while we're still in development and stuff like this. But the UIs for refueling and selling, both coming in 3.17, are two of my favorites that we've put out there. So if I get to have an opinion, I don't know. Let's look for some more refueling questions here. How long will it take in your mind how long will in your mind the final refueling process take? Of course, it depends on the size of the tanks, but are we talking about minutes or hours?
It's depending on the tank size. So, for example, we balanced it that the Gladius right now is with the standard nozzle and the standard fuel pods roughly 40 seconds. So that is like the ship that we expect to use this mechanic the most. And yeah, well, if you want to refuel an 890 jump, it will take its time because it has giant tanks, and it's not something that we can magically increase the number, because we want to stick to like a certain reality there, in the sense of a pipe has a certain diameter and it can only withstand a certain pressure, and therefore we have this flow rate there as a mechanic, and bigger ships will take longer to refuel.
Está diciendo que quieren
Still very much.
quieren como mantenerse en la realidad en el caso del tiempo que se tarda en hacer el llenado de combustible de las naves. Comentan sobre la Gladius que tarda sobre 40 segundos en llenarse. Y bueno, también comentaban discordando antes que la interfaz de usuario, que es una de las cosas más difíciles de hacer en juegos, en Star Citizen, con la cantidad de cosas que tienen, pues telita, y que la interfaz que se nos presenta ahora mismo con el tema Refuel, que es una de las más completas que han sacado hasta la fecha.
I can attempt to answer this question before passing it on anyway.
No, go ahead. Just.
But,
I tried.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. So not right now, and yeah, probably something that we'll be aiming for in future. Torsten, you can elaborate on that.
That is correct.
When I did the promo for the show this morning, I said it was an hour earlier than it actually was. I clearly am having some like brain flow problems today. All right. When a ship such as the Starfarer is full of fuel and attacked and destroyed, how will the fuel be dropped? Will it be in little tiny boxes, or will it just vanish?
So, because the fuel is part of the fuel pods, it right now will, in the current state, it will explode with the Starfarer. And if you, I already mentioned the screen on the backside of the Starfarer where you control the fuel pods, and there's a little button that says detach, and the detach means that you can drop those fuel pods. And this already gives you a hint of what our aim here is. So if they somehow survive the explosion, that means that other ships are able to pick them up again. So if
¿Qué pasa en el caso de que reviente, o sea, de que ataque con una Starfarer, ¿no? Si una Starfarer, ¿qué va a pasar con los pods de combustible y tal? Y dice, o con el combustible que se va a quedar esparcido por ahí y tal. Y dice, de momento pues va a explotar, pero lo suyo es que tengan la posibilidad también de desanclarse, y si alguno de los pods sobrevive, y estoy hablando del futuro cercano, ¿no? En principio, pues otra nave que tenga la posibilidad de pillarlo será capaz de rescatarlos, ¿no? Esos pods de combustible.
Coming anytime soon for mining in a group, or are there any plans to force multi-crew organized runs in the same spot with multiple travels to clean the location of valuable minerals?
Yeah, so about the bigger rocks, so that could be a short-term solution to the momentarily like very or more or less unattractive multi-crew mining, but we have bigger plans for that. So we have some ideas of how we can improve multi-crew mining in the future. So some of the visions that we have is that we have some weak points that need to be hit at the same time, and even players need to make them explode at the same time. So imagine a situation where you are with several prospectors targeting the same stone. Everyone hits the same weak point of the stone, and then you have to time it so that you don't damage other pieces of the rock, and then the rock splits, and then you can proceed.
Están hablando de...
Same goes
Están
for...
preguntando, ¿va a haber algún tipo de, mejoras o avances en lo que es la minería, ¿no? Las rocas, variedad o cómo va a ser la minería? Está comentando que tiene varias ideas. Tiene varias ideas. Una de ellas, por ejemplo, es que tenga un punto débil en la roca. Y a partir de ahí, pues que la gente tenga que, pues, la idea es que pues un conjunto de prospectos pues vaya a pues, ese punto de roca y pues, en plan, se fijen en ese punto y no dañen a otro punto de la roca. O sea, no ataquen a otro punto de la roca porque si atacan a otro punto de la roca, pues se pueden dañar partes y tal. Entonces, cuando encuentran el punto exacto, ¿no? El punto adecuado para poder incidir en la roca, pues que a partir de ahí pues se separe y tal, haciendo una colaboración de equipo. Pero que dice que esto es algo, dice que esto es algo de cara al futuro, ¿no?
When new mining gadgets come in, this will be far away in the future, I guess. How do you expect the community to use them if we can't scan the majority of rocks? Now, and I know some of those, some of the asteroid scanning it was bug fixes that you talked about being fixed last week.
Yeah, I think Todd mentioned that already last week when we had some fixes in. So there are some fixes that are targeted for 317, and we hope that it fixed the majority of the problems, but it's a very complicated manner. So we hope that it fixed it, but we have to see. And,
Okay. This one may or may not be outside your wheelhouse. I feel like it's probably not. But how do you intend to make and balance mining to be a lucrative profession that drives economy? Is that an EUPU gameplay feature, Team Tesco? Look, this person asked. Between ships, escorts, modules, consumables, timers, etc., that seems to be an expensive and dangerous endeavor at the moment.
Yeah, that is definitely not on us to decide. It's on the economy side, but yeah, I fully agree. So I'm not a huge fan of Quantanium being the only profitable resource. I have the feeling that it is something that will change once we have crafting there and player demands and maybe even AI demands there, so that the values of each item shift. But yeah, this is not on us to decide.
Yarrow, I saw you nodding there in agreement.
Me encanta que haya dicho, porque le acaban de preguntar de qué pasa con la minería. ¿La minería es Quantanium y luego pues Quantanium y más Quantanium o qué pasa con eso, ¿no? Al final. Ese es el resumen. Y dice que no sabe, o sea, él no es la persona indicada para contestar esto, que ese tipo de cosas se encarga otra gente. Lo que sí que está comentando es que piensa que, o sea, que va a haber otras cosas, o sea, que va a cambiar esto, ¿no? Que va a cambiar esto sobre todo, pues, por o sea, cuando el crafteo, ¿no? Cuando llegue el crafteo de otras cosas, pero me ha llegado cuando llegue el crafteo, cuando llegue la manufactura, la fabricación, ¿no? La fabricación de cosas. Y eso, lo de la fabricación, es como una campanilla en el oído, ¿no? Agradable.
So, if a material is more rare than another, it should also be worth more.
I think viewers will find if they watch enough of these shows that game designers often share many of the same feelings and frustrations as the players of the game. When something is limited or something...
Está comentando y discordando que muchas veces los desarrolladores... o sea, los espectadores encuentran que los desarrolladores encuentran las mismas frustraciones o las frustraciones en los mismos sitios que los jugadores tenemos, ¿no? A la hora de ideas mecánicas o cómo debe de funcionar el juego, etcétera.
And make sure there's an introductory version of all these features, and then go back and fill these in. So it's I think Todd actually said it last week too. Patience is one of the hard part for the developers, because we just want to put it all out right now and do it all out, but we can't. We just can't work on everything at once. let's do one more mining question before we move on. This one's a bit farther out, Torsten. In regards to mining, is the plan still to eventually have subsurface deposits and veins that we can tap into with our miners, as stated in both the prospector and land claim Q&As?
Yes, this is still the plan. So once we have the land claims, yes, you as the landowner should have possibilities to dig a hole and mine stuff, and that opens the possibility for other cases there as well.
Okay.
Sigue en pie la idea de que vamos a tener betas de mineral y bolsas de mineral, betas de mineral, otro tipo de cosas, ¿no? Y dice algo interesante, acaba de decir algo interesante, dice que sí, sigue planeado en el momento que podamos hacer los reclamos de tierra, el palote y todo eso, ya sabéis. Dice que la idea es que podamos cavar un agujero y buscar material. Ojo con eso que acaba de decir, ¿eh? Cavar un agujero. What the fuck?
But yeah, I feel like the easily part is probably a bit misleading. It's more than just like room system. There needs to be, graphic user interface for all the panels. There needs to be controls for the rooms. There needs to be integration to resource systems. So there's like a lot of additional work that we're doing right now. And then also we have the setup for the ships, and yeah, but it is definitely progressing, and I'm happy with it so far.
We do have a lot of ships to process to get that in a releasable state. So that definitely is a contributing factor. And the question saying the room system is finished is not quite accurate either. It's constantly in development, being upgraded to support more new features and things like that.
Yeah, it's. I was trying to think of something I could add to that, but no, that's pretty much it. It's
a big feature. It's not like.
And every time we add more ships, it just makes your work just a little bit. like one part, the project keeps moving the goalpost out for you. Like it's only this many ships, and then we keep adding more ships. But yeah, I think it's a major component, not just not just for the present day gameplay, but it's obviously an essential component to real multi-crew. One of the things, I mean, there's not a whole lot of multi-crew in Star Citizen right now. There's basically you're a pilot and you're a turret gunner, so like that. But things like resource management and life support and stuff like that. Those are all how we build out the idea of true multi-crew here. And
están hablando del tema de los sistemas de habitaciones y tal, de cómo progresa, que cuando está terminado, y dice que esto nunca va a estar terminado, que es algo que va a estar ahí, o sea, nunca va a estar terminado, que es algo que se va a ir mejorando y cambiando y tal, a medida que se va desarrollando, se va a ir metiendo, pues eso supongo que por tiers, por grados de experiencia que hayan conseguido, ¿no? Y dice que además es importante pues el tema dice que el tema de cómo se desarrolla el multijugador en el Star Citizen, que ahora mismo pues simplemente pues está el piloto y el artillero, como mucho, que no hay tanto tal, y que con el tema de los incendios, todo el tema de reparaciones a bordo, el rol de ingeniería y tal, que se sentirá lo que es la verdadera intención de la multitripulación, ¿no? que quieren lograr en el Star Citizen.
Live on these ships will last longer and stuff, and it's exciting. It's one of those. The Star Citizen multi-crew gameplay of today will not be what the gameplay is of tomorrow, and I'm excited to see some true progress towards that. Is life support still planned to be limited to people? Is life support still planned to be limited to prevent people using ships as a clown car?
Yeah, of course. Because the way it's supposed to work, you like on ISS, you have the scrubber, it removes the CO2, and it has only certain rate that it can process. Yeah, so if you suddenly get like 20 people inside of a small small ship that's designed for like 2 people, then your life support is gonna start not managing it, and that the rate of flow of the air through the system will be too slow. The CO2 will build up, and you'll probably die. But obviously, it's all gonna needs to be balanced well with the bigger ships and then the different rooms in the ships. So there's
We don't want to put a hard limit on it. That is
Yeah.
something. So we want to have it systemic driven. So that means that, so if you have an Aurora and you want to claim it with 5 people, then sure, it will work. But what you have to do as the person running the Aurora, you have to replace the skimmer constantly, because the skimmer just depletes very, very fast because because of the CO2 production in the room. And then, yeah, sure. If you want to decide to, every 10 minutes I have to replace the skimmer, sure. Do your
and also like you have, life support is not only doing the CO2, it's also like temperature and the pressure, and those things will be also hit by too many people breathing in the room, because then it's, less time for heating or cooling the room. So it's going to be interesting gameplay there to balance what you want in your rooms, to the atmosphere to be like.
Several people in the chat are listening to your answers and all saying, how does any of that work with something like the Valkyrie, where you're supposed to have big open side doors, and so how does that work with some of these drop ships that are designed to have big open spaces to the?
So one of the things that will have to come along with life support is dynamic atmosphere propagations. Fancy name for just air actually moving between things. So if you have the doors open, you're going to be getting whatever atmosphere is on the other side of those doors. If you open the doors in space, you're going to have a bad time for anyone on there who wants to breathe. But yeah, you'll be able to fly around and in a way catch some atmosphere from the planet that you're in. I think that'll have some interesting implications in future for planets with.
Está comentando el tema sobre el soporte vital y sobre cómo será un limitante para las personas de a bordo que lleven una nave. Por ejemplo, que si llevas 5 personas pues, a bordo de una Aurora, que no creen que sea un limitante duro, pero sí que tengas que hacer cosas, ¿no? Entonces, cada 10 minutos que tengas que ventilar, o que luego pues que no le dé tiempo, que no le dé la capacidad suficiente a poder renovar el aire, ¿no? para que sea respirable por la tripulación de a bordo. Temas como la presión, la temperatura también de a bordo y tal. Y acaba de salir una pregunta interesante sobre el tema de entonces la Valkyria, ¿qué pasa, no? Entonces la Valkyria, pues porque es una dropship que tiene 25 personas a bordo en realidad. Y entonces dicen que estaban también hablando de la propagación dinámica del aire entre habitaciones, entre estancias y tal. Y dice que de alguna manera una nave que esté volando por un planeta, pues será capaz como de adquirir de adquirir el aire de fuera, ¿no? La atmósfera y tal, por ejemplo. Y que pues si tú abres una puerta y hay las condiciones que hay afuera, pues se propagarán al interior, ¿no? Como por ejemplo, si tú estás en el espacio, pues la gente va a tener un momento difícil, ¿no? Para respirar si no tiene pues el traje adecuado dentro de la nave y cosas así.
A choice there for player to do. Yeah.
I think one of our
go ahead.
One of our big considerations for this is that while you are going to be able to do everything on a per room basis, we're going to be making sure to have a good focus on usability, and again, the quality of UI will help with that, so that it doesn't feel tedious.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That like there's gonna be like obviously presets for like, just maintain this room in like a normal state for life, let's say, but then maybe you want it to be like warmer than average, so you're gonna focus the life support on the temperature to keep the temperature higher, and like maybe that you don't care about the CO2 levels in this room. So it's like I think the idea is for the baseline to be very simple. You don't really need to do much. But if you want to go into these details for some specific purpose, you can. That's
Zulu Foxtrot keeps trying to backwards engineer questions about night vision by attaching it to questions about stuff that you guys actually work on. Foxtrot. Night vision is actually a graphics engineering thing, and we discussed it most recently with Director of Graphics Engineering, Ali Brown, so I encourage you to check that out. There's no easy answer, but the truthful answer is in that show, so check that out. It's like, I have watched enough 80s sitcoms to know when you're trying to backdoor a different topic into what we're actually supposed to be talking about. I wasn't born yesterday. I was born a long, long time ago. Will life support systems require consumables that must be restocked?
I think we already mentioned that. So yeah, obviously you have the filters for the air.
Mira, una cosa interesante, dice, ¿habrá consumibles que reemplazar para los soportes de vida? Dice, sí, pues estos filtros de aire, por ejemplo.
So that's one. We'll also have some for like heating up the rooms. We also there will be a bunch. It's gonna be like a real system inside of the ship that you can.
Claro, dice que va a haber como un sistema aéreo, que va a haber un puñado de cosas, ¿no? Que sí que tengamos que hacerles mantenimiento.
Chat that says, will depressurizing rooms during combat provide any advantages to stuff? Can you drawing the air out of a room if your attackers aren't helmeted?
I mean, like possibly you'd get more power. Life support obviously uses power, so I guess if you kind of turn it off completely, then you'd get more power. I
like the engineering gameplay of cut power to life support, all power to engines.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got a really huge ship where the life support's taking up a lot of power, then that could be a thing.
Or some damage.
But I think that question was more aimed on offensive uses of life support, and you'll definitely be able to turn off the air if you've got borders.
For the borders,
right? Yes.
Of course.
And
you can like heat it up.
Estaban preguntando, ¿despresurizar una sala será útil para el combate? Y se les ha ido la pelota y se les ha olvidado, porque están hablando del hecho de que si pues alguien pues está sin oxígeno dentro tal, pues al final despresurizar el rollo, o sea, despresurizar entiendo que es en plan de quitar todo el aire, todo el oxígeno, apagar el soporte y tal, y dice pues que tendremos más energía y tal. No, tío, propagación de fuego, tío, ¿qué pasa? No se propaga, coño.
So in T0 we won't have support for like composition of the atmosphere. That's not yet a thing.
But you're open to it later on.
Of course.
There will be, something similar with fire, I guess, that fire creating excess carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide does make the room it's in toxic, but you won't be able to do that on demand in T0.
That seems to be a good bridge into resource management. I don't think you can talk. I mean, any discussion of life support has to go right into resource management. They're inextricably tied. We haven't talked about resource management since we had that wonderful demo with Dan Truffin way back when. What can you give us about it before we get into the specific questions here? What can you give us of as a general kind of update? How is it going? Is it going? Is it moved since we showed it so long ago?
There are improvements. I mean, some things are necessary for life support to use it. So that's what I'm working on partially. So we have I guess support for it to interact with the room system, to exchange the gases from the tank with the rooms, and that's all coming together.
You got anything to add, Torsten?
And in addition to the work that Yaro does for the life support, we also started working on the proper engineering screens because they are the same. So basically, the life support UI interface will be just an overlay or a layer inside the engineering screen. So every engineering screen is also directly a live support user interface, right?
Okay. Just because
Cualquier panel de ingeniería va a tener asociado un manejo de soporte de vida, ¿no? Parece ser.
our citizen backers since then, can you give us a kind of a general overview? I'm not going to ask you. You can clearly do it as we demonstrated with the refueling. So not the entire loop, but what are our goals? What are the goals? What's the intention? Just the top level of resource management, power management, however you want to refer to it. What are we trying to do here?
So our goal there is to give the all resources distribution of any ship in players' hands. So we have fuel, fuel that is consumed by the power plant and by the engines, and you are in control of how much fuel those engines and the power plant gets. And depending on...
Esto es interesante, está diciendo de que cuáles son las cosas, lo básico, ¿no? Lo gordo, el taco gordo de la ingeniería de bordo de las naves. Pues tendremos, para manejar la ingeniería tenemos combustible que es usado por la planta de potencia, otros elementos, cantidad de combustible suministrada, que es algo que nosotros podremos también gestionar.
So this is something that you will be able to manage on the fly. So dynamically, anytime, any day, on any ship, you will be able to have full control over the resource distribution of your ship.
Claro, dice que tendrás eso, pues lo que acaba de decir, ¿no? Completo control sobre la distribución de recursos a bordo de tu nave, ¿no?
Quite significantly, actually, yes. Because we have some legacy systems that work, but are not the ideal way that we intended to have it work. So there are some optimizations that we have to do so that it runs performant and that we don't put too much stress on everything, which is already quite stressed. So yeah, there's a lot to do on our side. So every ship needs to be touched, and every item that is existing also needs to be touched.
The good thing is that it's kind of going to be a bit combined, I think, with the live support. So because they both use obviously resource systems, so just like at least it won't have to be done twice. Hopefully, maybe.
That's the big benefit of this system. So because we now have the opportunity to start or to work on live support in parallel with the engineering, they all tie together, and our aim is also to have them release at the same time, because it's sharing the same UI, it's sharing the same systems. So it is the same system, it just does a bit more complicated stuff with connecting it to the room systems and so forth. So yeah.
And it's not just your team, it's the UI team.
Me parece que el sistema, o sea, los herramientas o el sistema, ¿no?, que están utilizando para la distribución de combustibles es el mismo que parece que van a utilizar para el life support adaptado, obviamente, al soporte de vida.
So, yeah, you guys are here at the Vanguard, but eventually it's going to open up and it'll be an all hands on deck kind of thing.
Every team is involved there. Every team has to do some update stuffs on their systems to utilize the new resource networks. So it's, like you said, every team has to be involved here.
We haven't talked looting. Let's switch to some looting stuff. We know that there are changes to loot generation coming in 3.17. It would be extremely useful if portable loot boxes...
Mira cómo le da el vino blanco ahí, joder, claro que sí.
...onto each other. It would. Is this planned for the future?
So, short answer is yes, but slightly longer answer is that the portable loot boxes in general are under a bit of a review. There's a variety of implications of them from both a balance and a performance perspective. So they are under review, but we do hope that in the future, you will be able to stack them on your cargo grid and do anything else you want with them. That is obviously also awaiting the cargo refactor.
Why is there still no SCU cargo to loot around derelicts? What is needed to put them in?
So the why they're not there is a question for the level designers. But as to what's needed to put them in, I'm fairly confident that we have everything needed for that on the tech side. So yeah, it's down to level design to put them there if they want them, decide what goes where.
I'll add a little context to that just so Jacob doesn't have a sniper dot from the level design team on his chest tomorrow afternoon. That is part of the work that Montreal is doing with the new complete revamp of derelicts from the ground up. Part of what you saw in ISC yesterday and stuff is them building out the interiors and all that stuff, and as part of that there will be loot generation spots and stuff like that. So that's all part of the new derelict 2.0, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Yes, I should add that we have been in constant contact with the level designers, including the Montreal team. So yes, they are aware that this is a thing that we could do. They are considering it, etc. We're all working together on this.
Yeah. Will there ever be items or weapons found exclusively through looting, i.e., you can't buy them in stores?
So that is absolutely a yes. I think it was on one of the recent ISCs with Samuel Molina, who mentioned that yes, for 317.
Están hablando ahí del botín y tal, cambiar un poco el tema, ¿no? Y están hablando de la generación de loot, de que vamos a tener una generación de loot nueva con los precios que está trabajando Monreal en ellos, con el tema de todo de eso que hemos visto, la reclaimer y tal. Aparte de eso, están hablando de, bueno, algo que ya habían comentado, ¿no? De si vamos a tener objetos exclusivos de loteo, y dicho que sí, con varios niveles de rareza y tal, que ya se había comentado. Hace poco lo comentaron, ¿no?
As they start, and I've been hounding Ben Dorsey to make them the most valuable item in the PU. We'll see if my peer pressure wins that or not. I don't know if it will. Probably not. People usually just shine me on. Anybody that's ever met me, anyway. Will hydrogen fuel ever be a lootable item that you can then go back to your ship and use it to refuel yourself?
That's a bit of a hybrid question between refueling and.
And can you use night vision when you do it?
Oh, come on. I'm not answering that. But as for the loot side of it, we've been considering all sorts of features and how they can tie into loot generation. Upcoming features, existing features. We're thinking about what related to this feature could you find in a loot box and where would it make sense to find it and stuff. So it's not out of the question that fuel could be one of those things, but it does also depend on how refueling continues to develop, particularly.
Vale, están comentando el tema de el combustible es algo loteable. Dice que no está fuera del asunto, que es algo que tal, pero que todo depende de cómo el combustible siga evolucionando. Y que no hay planes ahora mismo para meterse con eso, pero estamos considerando que sea loteable. Que cualquier cosa sea loteable, ¿no? Cualquier cosa están hablando.
General stuff here. Historically, decompression was a thing. With character force reactions and life support, atmospheric room containers, what's stopping the delivery of decompression and people getting sucked out of airlock mechanics? We actually showed an early prototype of that back in 2015 at Gamescom.
Yeah. So we've definitely been thinking about that, but it's mainly a prioritization and an order of business thing. that the people that would be implementing that, mainly myself and Yarrow, are currently doing live support and other things. So that's definitely on the cards, but later down the line, reliant on live support being finished before we start doing that. And again, definitely the what's stopping part. There's still a lot of other teams downstream requirements as well to get.
Vale, si esa es una explicación que tiene a cosas, ¿no? O a gente salir a tomar por culo de la nave, ¿no? De salir despedido y tal. Dice que ahora mismo que el equipo que están encargado de implementar eso, pues que son ellos dos, o sea, el rubito y el pelirrojo, el de abajo. Dice, bueno, que somos nosotros y tal, parte de ese equipo, que estamos haciendo otras cosas, estamos finalizando el live support, pero que soporte de vida, pero que eso también dependerá de varios equipos también, no solo de varios equipos downstream para sacarlo adelante.
Rarity, there's like common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, to use the WoW model. Do we have those levels set? Are you at a place where you can share with us what are the rarity levels referred to as? And do they have colors?
They definitely don't have colors. We're not doing that. It would not fit with the sort of level of realism that we're going for. We do have some fixed rarity tiers of loot boxes, and at the moment, off the top of my head, I think we've got common, uncommon, rare. But what that means is not a global setting. So how likely you are to find a rare loot box is not going to be the same in every location, and its contents are not going to be the same in every location. It's something that the designers are thinking a lot about, of how to balance what crates and what contents you get where. And it's also something that we are having ongoing discussions with the economy team about how we balance the amount of value you can get out of containers.
Estaba preguntándole, dijo Orlando, si va a haber épico, ultra épico, legendario y todo eso y tal, y si va a haber colores asociados a los objetos que lo debemos de eso, ¿no? Y dicen que no va a haber colores, que no casaría con la idea del juego, de esa fidelidad del juego y tal. Comenta también que efectivamente que cuando están hablando de rareza no están hablando de estadísticas, no están hablando de tal, sino de que ciertas cosas pues tienen rareza de salir de ciertos sitios y claro, o sea, se está hablando de eso, lo que está haciendo ahora Discolando, ¿no? De que lo que se está hablando es de cuán difícil es encontrar un objeto determinante en un sitio, ¿no? O sea, igual pues efectivamente un objeto puede ser raro en Pyro, pero ese objeto no puede ser raro en Stanton, ¿no? O sea, que la idea es, además a través del equipo de que está trabajando en la economía, tratar de hacer, pues tratar de buscar, ¿no? el equilibrio para encontrar el precio adecuado, la compensación económica adecuada a esos objetos raros en ese lugar, ¿no? Porque están hablando de que efectivamente una ubicación pues tendrá una serie de contenedores que pueda tener, a los que pueda optar para nosotros poder recoger el botín de ahí. Y entonces, al final, pues ese tipo de... O sea, si tú, por ejemplo, pues encuentras, pues yo que sé, la P8, pues se encuentra P8 en un sitio, pero en otro sitio es súper raro encontrarla, pues eso va a ser un objeto raro, la P8 en otro sitio, ¿no? Y tendrá su representación en tienda como que hay escasez de P8, por lo tanto valdrá más, ¿no? Habrá una compensación. No sé si luego habrá más colores o historias y tal, ya veremos, a ver.
It's really clear out there because I'm looking at what's happening in chat right now. Rarity is not a measure of the quality of the item.
Eso es lo importante que está diciendo Descolando, ¿no? Que no es que no hay objeto de, o sea, no hay puntuación de equipo, no hay estadísticas en los objetos, un objeto raro no es que sea ahí en plan de wow, una P8 legendaria, no, o sea, no va así, ¿no?
one of them because Herson hates those guys. Stuff like that. Not using that specific example, but as literally just an analogy. It is about just trying to make loot seem diegetic and real, and for lack of a better term, just make sense. What would you expect to find in this kind of thing? Not to say that there can't be surprises. That's what the rarity is. Not that there can't be surprises. There will always be surprises in the world. Everybody loves a surprise. But
Claro, estaciones no significa que no haya sorpresas, puede haber sorpresas, pero que la cuestión es que sea pues creíble, ¿no? Que es lo que se espera de lo que es un juego, pues eso, que va en pues, la fidelidad.
a profession like mining and refueling?
Yes, but also no. So yes, on the side. The main difference here is that for mining and for refueling, you have a resource, or you gather a resource and then you sell it either to a player or you sell it to a trade terminal. For engineering, it's you stand around in a ship and you press buttons, right? So it's a profession in the sense of someone better pay you to do your job, else you will mess up their ship and it might not work. But that's it. So it is a profession, yes, but there's nothing to trade with.
Yeah, it's another distinction from like the typical classes in an MMO. It's your character can act like a rogue, can act like a fighter, can act like a cleric, can act like a paladin. There is no, hey, suddenly I've chosen a thing and I have a label and I am this kind of stuff like that. So I think that's probably the better way to look at professions. As a human being who had 36 jobs before I came here, it's and it's had 6 titles here, even though my job hasn't changed. Trying to label what you are and how you do in life is not always the easiest thing. And I think we
está diciendo le están preguntando, ¿la ingeniería va a ser una profesión en Star Citizen? Y dice, sí, porque a diferencia de la minería, pues no habrá una serie no habrá nada con lo que comerciar, ¿no? Que vas a estar en una nave pulsando botones. Sí que por otro lado, si estás está aclarando y descolando, ¿no? Diciendo de que claro, que en realidad en el Star se parece un poco a la vida. No es en plan el mítico MMO que tú eres un clérigo, yo soy un guerrero, yo soy un tal, ¿no? No tienes una etiqueta, sino que cada día en Star Citizen, pues un día te puedes dedicar a la minería, otro día te puedes dedicar a ser ingeniero de una nave a bordo, otro día otra cosa, ¿no? Que al final tendrás, supongo que una especie de calificación, ¿no? Una especie de calificación, entonces ahí a partir de ahí pues podrás optar a mejores trabajos a bordo de naves de gente que te quiera contratar, etcétera, ¿no? Reputación, al final reputación, chavales.
Items for 317. Will every ship in 317 have a physical fuel port on the top, and how will the second fuel port be used?
So no, not all ships will have the physical port to the top. So that is part of the gold standard. So some ships or ships that are coming are supposed to have it already. So it should be already planned for them. But the older ships, they need to, some of them need to be added. So right now the Gladius already has it. And on the second part to the question, the second port is mainly there for hangar refueling. So the top one is just there for in-flight.
Todas las naves van a tener una entrada de combustible en la parte de arriba de la nave. En la parte de superior dice que no, que algunas naves antiguas tienen que metérselo y tal. Y ahora mismo pues se están centrando en el Gladius. O sea, el Gladius va a ser el asuntaco, ¿no? A tener en cuenta ahora para hacer refuel, parece ser, que es en la que están trabajando, sobre todo.
The UI that you are, which I already mentioned. So that is the only impact we have there.
Will there be an easy way to share your location for refueling?
Yes, once we get the beacon system sorted, then yes, there will be.
Habrá un sistema eficiente, ¿no? O sea, para poder compartir tu ubicación para hacer refuel. Dice, una vez tengamos configurado el nuevo sistema de balizas, sí.
And, well, I think we just added an answer to this one already. Where does refueling go after 317? Service beacons, but also...
Service beacons. There are some gameplays that didn't make it that we envisioned for the refueling. So one thing. So I think most of you are aware that there's this mechanic of this hidden stash fuel if you are stranded in space and you completely ran out of fuel, so you cannot theoretically dock to the boom arm anymore. So you have this reserve fuel that allows you to use this dedicated only with docking to be able to dock to the Starfarer again. This is just something there because we didn't get the tractor beam right. So there's supposed to be a tractor beam functionality that can pull you in, as well as we envisioned more direct.
Claro, esto está interesante. Que dice que ahora mismo, pues, que se supone que tenemos o sea, en caso de que nos quedemos sin combustible, nos queda un combustible de reserva para hacer un docking de emergencia que solo servirá para el docking, porque acordaros que para poder hacer combustible se utiliza el sistema de docking, de acoplamiento. Y dice que claro, que no han podido completar lo que querían, que era que un rayo tractor realmente enganchase a la nave y le ayudase eh, para poder hacer el tema del fuel, pero que no está todavía completa esa mecánica para poder meterla.
All right. And last question. Did you enjoy putting together your Lego Discovery? And can you implement night vision in order to make it easier?
I don't get how night vision would make it easier, but it's a fun Lego piece. It's a fun Lego piece.
I don't know. It's just what it said. All right. That's it, everybody. Thank you for being here, for coming back after we had to reschedule your show last time. That's been Star Citizen Live, the EUPU gameplay feature team. Keep an eye out on the robertspaceindustries.com website for information on when 317 is heading your way. I know it's in Evocati right now. My understanding, at least at this time, this is just me being here for as long as I have, is that Wave 1 PTU is kind of a day-by-day kind of thing. We absolutely want to get it out in your hands and everything, but again, it has to reach certain thresholds. It has to be worth it. It has to be useful to get it out into those tests and stuff. So if it's already at a certain point where we don't need people to tell us it's broken because we already know it's broken, there's no reason to push it out. So check back on that for updates on when that happens. Next week is our last episode of ISC for the quarter before we go on our hiatus. We'll be doing our patch report. We'll go through all the stuff that's coming in Alpha 317 and something that I just realized that I actually can't tell you about because it's a surprise. So you'll have to tune in on Thursday to find out what that is. And then Friday, back here, April 1st, it's Jeremiah and I. It's going to be dumb. You know it's going to be dumb. I don't know what it is yet, but Jeremiah and I on April 1st, it's going to be dumb. And it may or may not be the last show we do here in LA, depending on visa processing time. So who knows? We might be here for a couple more weeks. It might be the last one. I don't know. We're all just kind of waiting. So for Jacob, and Yerrick and Torsten, I'm Jared. Thank you for being here with us this week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
I honestly have no idea what we're doing on April 1st. I just realized it was April 1st when I said that. It was just going to be us goofing around, but now I got to come up with something, don't I? Yes, I know you can still hear me. We do this every week. People are like, we can still hear you. I know. I do this on purpose because I like chaos.
Gracias, Raquel. Madre que me parió. A ver, digo que Discolando ha dicho que ha dicho cosas que no voy a decir porque no, pero ha dicho también cosas que sí, que es el tema de que, bueno, que para la semana que viene es el último inside del trimestre y, y que van a hablar, bueno, pues eso, que va a haber una sorpresa. Sorpresa, chavales. Parece ser que ha dicho sorpresa. De la que no puedo hablar. Ha dicho, en realidad, bueno, es sorpresa de la que no puedo hablar. Y yo, bueno, es sorpresa, ¿no? Aparte de eso, mm, aparte de eso, aparte de eso, sí. mm, Aparte de eso, piensa, dale ahí al tarro. Espérate un momento. La madre que me parió, tío. Eh, sí, el tema del PTU, que es importante. Estaba comentando sobre el tema del PTU y dice, claro, el PTU es un proceso que va en marcha, ¿no? Que no es algo que tal. Entonces, para la oleada uno, ¿cuándo la sacarán? Bueno, la sacarán cuando sea necesario, ¿no? Es lo que comentábamos el otro día, que realmente ellos evidentemente quieren progresar, quieren sacar las cosas adelante y tal, pero que no tiene sentido que saquen la oleada uno si hay algo que no les permite hacerlo, ¿no? Y que estará cuando esté, que que la oleada PT1 de PT1, la Wave 1, tiene que ser útil que salga, ¿no? Tiene que ser útil que salga. Lo que sí que es posible que salga hoy. Es posible. Porque esto suele ir por ciclos de trabajo, ¿no? Es posible que salga hoy. Eh, Ahí está. Es posible que salga hoy. Lo que sí que voy a hacer, chavales, es que, claro, me he levantado y me he planchado aquí, tío. O sea, me voy a pegar una ducha, me voy a tomar un café y vengo ahora. Madre mía. A ver un momento. Si es que vaya tela, ¿eh? Sí, han hecho así, ¿sabes? Voy a hacer el tema del destacado ya, que me quede hecho. Y fuera, tío, se vaya cocinando. A ver. Por cierto, Drew, gracias por la sub, tío. Gracias por apoyar el canal.